Hey, greetings, Saints. This is Brother JL for M3A Medical Missionary. You're probably wondering what am I doing here? Well, it's simple. I'm just waiting for a brother. He's coming all the way from Quebec to hand me a USB key. We are going to have, after our week of prayer, we are going to have another school of the prophet about stewardship. We know that money will play a big role at the end of time, money and food. And if you have watched my previous videos, my previous series, A New World Order, you will understand. So we need to know all the relationship with money and stewardship. And we're going to have a special presentation, a school of the prophet about that with one specialist, one of our brothers in the faith. And I'm also waiting for that brother, which was supposed to end me lots of cases of great controversy. I will have a few words about this and a specific video about this, but this is not the moment now. The reason I'm here, I thought while I'm waiting for my brother not to waste time and use time, make out of every opportunity as well to preach in season and out of seasons. Therefore, beloved, you all know, you are all aware that we are going to have a week of prayer. Reclaim. A week of prayer called Reclaim. So what we're going to do basically is we're going back in the enemy's camp and reclaim what the enemy had stolen from us, which is our youth. We have some youth who have been in the church for so long. Some of them were even born in the church and now they are no longer walking with us. We're going to intercede on our knees, begging, pleading with God, rending our hearts for our youths. Not only the youths, but some husbands and wives who are going to reclaim our prophetic identity, our prophetic message, who are going to reclaim our health. Whatsoever the enemy has stolen from us, we are going to reclaim. We are going back in the enemy's camp and take what he has stolen from us. Now, the purpose, the reason why I want to make this special video while waiting for my brother is the first message, the first night of that week of prayer, that reclaim week of prayer, reclaiming Adventists. Before we do so, beloved, the reason why I'm here specifically, before we start to reclaim, I want each one of us to acknowledge that if some were walking once with us and are no longer walking with us, maybe we have a part to do in the equation. Maybe because to every problem there is one question. Am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? For instance, I know my daughter and my auntie who are no longer working in the faith. I'm man enough to say there's a little bit of me inside of it. We always see GC. We always see the local pastors, conferences, people of the conferences who has apostatized, but we never see ourselves. It's like when we're at church listening to a message, we don't want to see ourselves. The first thing that comes in our mind, I wish so and so was there to hear that. Is there a little part of us in each in of us in their decision? You see, beloved, I am a self-made man. I was self-taught in everything. Most of the greatest event and moment of my life, I was alone. Data shows, statistics shows that when a brother or a sister comes in the church, if they have not made 6 friends within the 6 first month, they are likely to leave the church. So you're saying, well, if they leave the church, it's because they were not there for the right reason. Be careful, saints. We are supposed to be ambassadors. So we are supposed to have an image, reflect an image of who we are representing. And when they see us, sometimes they don't feel like staying within us. And I'm going to be more specific about this. As I'm not here to preach, but I want to talk from my heart. I'm going to be more specific about this. Matthew chapter 14. I believe it's starting from verse 23 downward. You see, I don't have my Bible because I'm talking from the heart. Jesus is grieving the loss of his cousin John the Baptist. So he decided to go in a solitary place with his disciple so he might be alone and pray and think. But the crowd, knowing of his presence, gathered and pressed to meet Jesus. So he had to minister from day till night. But then he said no. He told his disciple, "Go the other side, while I'm gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna bring I'm gonna make the crowd. I'm gonna this. How should I say that? My English is playing against me. Go the other side. I'll take care of the crowd, and then I will meet you." So the disciples went the other side in the boat, and while they were on that boat, a storm rose. After Jesus finished with the people, he decided to go meet his disciple as planned. But Jesus had no boat, so he walked on the water. So when the disciples see a man walking on water, they said it's impossible. That must be a spirit. They were afraid. So what did they do? They were afraid. But Peter, listen, Peter said, "Lord, if it is you, bid me to come towards you." And Jesus says, "Yes, come." So Peter got out of the boat and started to walk on water. And then contrary winds showed up. He got scared and began to sink, and he made one prayer. It wasn't no pastoral prayer, no flowery prayer. He cried out three words: "Jesus saves me." Immediately, Jesus took his hand, got him off the water. They started to walk together towards the boat, got in the boat. And as soon as they got in the boat, all the disciples who were witnessing the scene came to Jesus and started to worship and praise him. "Thou art surely the Son of God." I will stop there. I will stop there and give you some detail, and you will see where maybe you fit and in the decision of some people to leave the church. Beloved, I believe it was 2009, 2010. I was somewhere in South America preaching an evangelistic campaign. It was so hot, I couldn't sleep. I put the AC on, but it seems that it got hotter. But it so happened in front, in front of my hotel, there was the sea, the beach. So I got up and said, "No, I'm gonna go in that beach and I'm gonna go in and suit myself because it's way too hot." So I went there. I thought I would suit myself, but when I put my first foot in the water, I had to take it immediately. The water was so cold. Believe me, in as much as I was hot, the water was so cold that I couldn't put my foot in more than 2 seconds. That's how cold. And who would imagine that the water could be that cold in a hot country? I mean, the heat is unbearable. But the water there was so cold. And it was about 11 or 12 at night. Now, this story that I just shared with you happened in the fourth watch of the night. What is so special about the fourth watch of the night? It is the darkest hour, just before the dawn, the break of day. The darkest hour. And it is the coldest hour. The water can be so cold that it can catch hypothermia, and people die of hypothermia. So what happened? What am I saying? Peter was the one who got the faith, enough faith to get out of the boat. He did the impossible. And this is an example for each one of us. And the other ones were watching him do the impossible. The other one in that instance represent church members. Of course, Peter sang because he looked around and says, look at me, I'm doing the impossible. He got his eyes off Jesus because of pride. But this is not where I want to go. This is not the route I'm taking. He was the only one who did the impossible. And sometimes when you do the impossible, there are haters. Let each one look within and see if they are not poor before you start to claim the other ones who have left. Let each one look inward, see if you don't have a role to play. There are haters. So Peter sank, and Jesus got him up, raised him up. Jesus is ready. If you have left the church, Jesus is ready to raise you up. Come back home, brother. Come back home. This week is for you. In the darkest hour, you are alone. And most of my life, in the darkest hour, just when I needed my friends the most, I was alone. I know the feeling. And I'm here for you. Listen, listen, listen. This is what I will do. Call me. How about you call me? 011 if you are overseas, 438 regional code 4684173. Come home, brother. Come home. Look at my sister. You have left the church. I understand. Come home. Stop saying it's them, it's because of them. Leave the past behind. Let gone be bygone. Come back home in such a time, the darkest hours in history, right there unfolding before us, just like it was the fourth watch, darkest hour of the night. This is in the time and in the days and time that we are living everywhere around the world, especially with that Israeli war, everything pointing toward a great crisis. Come on, brother, the darkest hour. So let me go back to what I was saying. This when Peter sank and Jesus got him up, raised him up. They got in that boat. The first thing they started to do, worship and praise Jesus. Oh, thou art truly the Son of God. Wait a second. Something's not right in that episode. Wait a second. They are worshiping the Son of God. Hmm, this is us. We like to worship. We stay between us. We don't want to mingle, study, and let the people outside perishing in the world while testimony says we have a mission. It's to push the first, second, and third angels to the whole world, and we are not to be absorbed by anything else. It's not to preach the first, second, and third angel message to Adventists, between Adventists, but to the whole world. We let the others perish. But that's not where I'm getting at. They started to worship Jesus, but nobody, Peter is there alone. Are you alone, brother? This is going to be for you. Alone. Nobody's saying, hey, we need a towel for Peter. We need an air dryer for Peter. Peter is wet. It's freezing. This is called hypothermia. The risk of death is imminent for Peter. You have fallen after your greatest accomplishment, and church member have tossed you after you have fallen at the time you needed them the most. Now you said, no, they don't care about me anyway. I'm leaving back home. For you, you see, there is one who can understand you. There is one. Come back home, brother. My sister, please come home. Nobody cares. You know why they didn't care? Because Peter was wet. And actually, in our day and age, there are different sections in the church. You got a section for the Pharisees, you got a section for the youth, for the elderly person, and notice together mixed with one another. You got the mother's room, you got the section for the frozen chosen, and you got a section in the church for wet people. Wet people. Huh? People like Peter. People are, while all the rest are worshiping God inside the same church, they're leaving you. Have you left somebody who was wet, not caring about him? First thing that came out of your mind, let such a soul be sent to them, taking Paul out of context. Have you done some study about this text, what was happening in Corinth? We are so holy. We take on that holier than thou attitude while our brothers and sisters are leaving the church. Want to reclaim? Have to do what's right. Um, the series will begin next week, during this week. Maybe you have somebody to call. Maybe you have somebody to visit. Maybe you're going to have some apologies to do. I'm sorry, brother. I left you in the darkest of moment. I know it was the hour. Now I realize that it was the hour you needed us the most. And we have left you aside because you were wet. You see the cure for hypothermia? Let me tell you the cure. You take off your clothes, all right? Take off your clothes, and then you ask that person body to body, and you put a towel. That's the that's the best way for hypothermia. Warm body eat. Your body will eat the other body. That's the best way. I'm going to finish with this. Luke chapter 15. This is for you, my brother. This is for you, my sister who have left the church. Luke chapter 15, the prodigal son. The father was waiting every day, hoping that his son would get back to his normal senses. And it so happened that his son decided to go back home. And when the father saw him from a distance, he ran towards him, embraced him, got the fattest calf to be killed for a party. He put a ring and nice robes over his son. Do you understand? You've been Adventist before. I don't have to develop on that. But it was the brother. In other words, brothers in the church started to talk. Beloved, come back home. Jesus is calling you today. Jesus is calling you today because who cares what the brothers are saying? The brother who was in the church was against the father's attitude toward his lost son. Toward his son who came back home. But who cares? The father had forgiven him. The father forgave you. He forgave you while the church board was still voting. He forgave you while the members were still waiting. Come back home, brother. Come back home. He's calling for you. He's searching for you. He's waiting for you. Come back home. This week is for you. It's for you who have left the church. This week is for you. And I'm guilty of it also myself. I want to apologize. All right, guys? I want to take the moment to apologize. If I may have hurt somebody with an holier than thou attitude, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That is why the Father says, Jesus says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. I'm overzealous sometimes, thinking that I'm doing good while I can be used by the enemy. This happened to the best of us. Please forgive me. I beg you, my brother, forgive me. If I may have hurt you, please. I'm sorry. I'm sorry from the bottom of my heart. Come back home. My sister, come back home. Come back home. Please come back home. Call me. Whatever you are facing today, you feel like that you are alone. You have been rejected in your darkest moment and in the fourth watch of your life. The coldness in the church towards you. There's one who is still warm. My heart is warm. My heart is warm for you also. Come back home. In entry medical missionary, no one will reject you. Come back home, my brother. Come back home, my sister. We love you. I hope you take this message seriously. And all of you who are watching, please consider this message. Maybe before we do so, because we are going down on our knees, we are going to pray that not your prayer be hindered. Had I conceived iniquity in my heart, you would have not listened to the sound. Let us go back on our knees, pray, but before that, we need to do the right thing. We need to be man and woman enough to say, yes, I am part of it. I am a part of the problem. Some have left the church because of me. We need to be man enough to confess, especially our daughters, our sons. What image are you showing at home? You may be that holy with that holy attitude in church. You may be on the pulpit every Sabbath, but there may be one in the assembly, or two or three in the assembly, listening to your sermon with incredulity. Incredulity. There could be a husband listen to all your stuff about family, the program in the church, listening to your messages with incredulity. People see the outside appearance, but it is the closest to you that knows that you are a joke. You want to reclaim, but yet you leave your sons and daughter with those PS, Nintendo, I don't know, Xbox game of Satan, of the devil. I never understood why a pastor or an elder could leave those video games in their homes. You're preaching about family things or marriage while your sons and daughters are having an affair outside of wedlock, and you know about it, but you're too busy gaining soul here and there, preaching here and there, making program here and there, and the church that God has set in your hands, the sheep that God has have left you to pastor, you are neglecting. Focus is popularity. You want to gain the whole world, but your own family, your son, your brothers, your husband, your wife are neglected, and they are leaving the church. Make things right, saints. Please, it's time to make things right. I'm going to leave you on this note. That was your humble servant, Brother GL for M3A Medical Missionary. God loves you, and I love you too, saints. Sometimes I'm hard with you, but you know it's from the bottom of my heart. It's love. It's Philadelphian love and not Laodicean love. I love you, saints. God bless. Ciao.